Following over 20 years of love and devotion in the history of hip-hop, Jim Jones has submitted for divorce. Nonetheless, it's the cause of fans were stunned by a betrayal, a DNA test, and a deceit so profound that it's ripping apart the internet. What Chrissy did will leave you stunned. Remain with us because they didn't do this section. Show on television and you'll be amazed at how far for many years. Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin were the personification of the realm of hip-hop. It's ride-or-die love. From sultry moments on reality TV to viral proposals, they rose to fame. Through New York's hip-hop and love, establishing a location as one of the fans of the most famous couples in franchising. Mourned with them, cheered for them, and felt that everyone who could make it was Chrissy and Jim. But all that glitters is obviously not gold in a shocking revelation that has even their closest friends were taken by surprise. According to reports, Jim Jones has filed for divorce for reasons other than waning love or intractable disagreements, but due to an astounding deceit purportedly discovered with a DNA test. Yes, you heard correctly, and believe me when I say, that is not your typical celebrity split. We are discussing emotive secret scandals, manipulation, and rumors of treachery which had been fermenting under the surface for years. The type of drama that makes you consider whether was it ever real? Is there anything Chrissy has been concealing? During this in-depth expose, everything you require is being unpacked by us. Be aware of the controversy that is causing social media. What made Jim decide to call it at last? Gives up on what the DNA showed. Outcomes that led to this split and Chrissy's reaction now that the you won't believe how profound the truth is. The chain reaction is as follows. Is causing a stir in the entertainment world? Have a seat, since this is the moment when everything turned crazy. Jim became aware that everything had altered and the secret he was never meant to discover was out. To comprehend the seriousness of what occurs, the tape has to be rewound. Back to Jim Jones's early days, and the love story of Chrissy Lampkin is a narrative that was originally viewed by many as black love. Objectives, but now it appears more like a ticking time bomb that would eventually explode. Jim and Chrissy first got Chrissy and Me in the early 2000s, renowned for her bravery and beauty, was already established in the field, although Jim's career as a rapper was taking off. And Die Pet members were well known in that era. A chic, flamboyant, raw duo, blatantly confrontational. But behind that glamour was a partnership that was full of curt power battles, emotional peaks and valleys, and long simmering animosity. Their affection turned into a public spectacle as Love and When hip-hop first emerged in 2011. Chrissy took the main stage, not only as Jim's girlfriend, but also as an assertive lady admired not just by her partner, but also by the culture. Who can overlook the legendary at that point? She knelt down, and on national television, he proposed to Jim. However, he never truly provided her with the response that she or the audience desired. Time became emblematic of a lot of Chrissy's deeper struggle for a commitment. Jim never appeared to be prepared to give up, and Jim taking pleasure in her devotion without going back to the same vigor from previous engagement years halted. Rumors circulated about financial drama, mental distress, and adultery manipulation, but Chrissy persevered through all, remained, and admirers, particularly women, either commended or chastised her for her tenacity. For clinging to a man who refused to marry her after over 20 years, they went back to the Love and Hip in 2020. Chrissy, the hop spotlight seems to be greater, stated that she was no longer under pressure. Marriage, Jim said that he had matured. However, their body language said otherwise. TC's vibe seemed off-kilter. Jim's answers were ambiguous as he was farther away. Yes, there was affection, but there was also a burden. As if they were both sick of acting, and suddenly it seems like everything makes meaning. What used to appear to be ride or die, perhaps. Devotion was concealing secrets. Too much emotional harm and mistrust to recover because, based on recent details, the reasons behind this relationship's termination was more than simply the years of conflict. One of the stunning betrayals, Jim. Discovered through a test of DNA, but this is where it truly becomes a mess. What is the DNA test? Revealed is the reason it left Jim Jones utterly heartbroken. That's approaching. Section 2 is where this comes next. Up until lately, everything was upside down. Jim Jones could have been skeptical about the course of his partnership, but what he allegedly found out via a private DNA test caused a stir throughout his universe and might be the final justification for his filing for divorce after over 2 decades. Let's go for a stroll through the allegations made by those with knowledge of the issue and alluded to in court documents that Jim had started to worry that something wasn't accumulating over time. Whispers, and there were rumors about a kid circulating around him. A question about paternity in Chrissy's history, he initially dismissed it, saying that it was loyal to Jim's fault for constantly standing up for Chrissy openly. But according to confidential sources, he had misgivings that grew, according to reports earlier in the year when a longtime buddy provided information, implying that Jim might not be the father of a young family via a biological member of a child he thought had a connection linked to him by blood. But the specifics of this partnership are currently developing. Is this something Jim consented to gain insight, secretly take a DNA test? And the outcomes broke him. Not the exam just showed that he had no biological relationship with the kid. But additionally, it raised the prospect that Chrissy was accused of planning a falsehood, influencing events to preserve authority over a very private and emotional issue to clarify. She hasn't said anything in public yet, but leaked court records and anonymous hints suggest that Jim feels totally caught off guard. For years, he worked under presumptions that existed at best with adept manipulation of emotions and, at worst, with deliberate dishonesty. This was no longer only about love. This was perhaps the most profound breach of trust. Additionally, the timing couldn't be more explosive, just before the fans began to have faith in their reunion plot. Behind the scenes with Love and Hip Hop, Jim was discovering something that altered what he believed to be true about his. Let's put things in perspective, partner. Imagine creating your whole adult existence with someone who shares your fame, and whom your allegiance solely to your bank account discovers that a member of your family was according to fiction. Someone you maybe deceived you in the most intimate manner conceivable. It's not only betrayal that is a form of psychological warfare. Even worse, sources claim that this wasn't a new dishonesty in the reports, and documentation is said to have been retained by Chrissy. Jim's truth for years, perhaps not longer, and because it's available, it's not only their relationship is at risk, their history, their reputations, and how they will live on in the realm of rap music. However, if you believe that's once the narrative concludes, reconsider, because next, we'll disclose the legal consequences and how Jim's divorce application is revealing further details that Chrissy purportedly hoped would never. As though the revelation of DNA wasn't enough, the subsequent events crystallized it. Evident that Jim Jones wasn't only taken aback, he was finished after over 2 decades of being among the most divisive aspects of hip-hop. Jim and his partner allegedly filed for divorce, and court records are depicting an image that fans didn't anticipate. Let's dissect it based on intimate sources. Regarding the lawsuit Jim brought because of dishonest misrepresentation and irreversible breaches of trust. Now, that's not incompatible with everyday discrepancies in submitting this language signal. It implies something far more serious. That Jim thinks he was purposefully misled in a manner that harmed the core basis of their partnership. And this is where it becomes even more startling. According to the records, Jim is asking for a thorough probe into family claims, financial documents, and previous conversions between Chrissy and specific third parties, potentially in an attempt to demonstrate that the purported not only was deceit emotional, but it could have required financial mishandling or abusing common resources. This might blow the lid off if it's true. Years of covert suspicion and may perhaps put other people in the legal spotlight right now. Let's discuss Chrissy's response. Despite Chrissy's lack of a public assertion, according to reports, she was shocked and furious when she discovered. According to reports, she was unaware of Jim's filing. He had tested his DNA, and she reportedly discovered the divorce on the same day. The media covered it, talking about treachery. On both sides, according to some sources, she is putting up her own legal defense, perhaps contesting the assertions as disparaging or based on misunderstanding of private affairs. Others near Chrissy claims that she thinks Jim is abusing this circumstance to publicly degrade her, then change the story to steer clear of responsibility for his own future actions, such as adultery and manipulation of emotions. Thus, it's war, not simply a private separation. Began as a gradual, excruciating unraveling, it is now taking place behind closed doors. Throughout media sources and legal channels and timelines on social media, and the query that everyone is still thinking about was the relationship a deception from the start? Or is this simply the last blast from years of hidden secrets and anxiety? This story's emotional suffering isn't simply about mishandled love, it's about power. Identity, betrayal, and the stakes pressure from celebrities and reality TV culture. What we're now viewing isn't just a divorce, it's the breakdown of an empire. Followers believe they would outperform the odds. And just when you believe that this circumstance, wait till you see how twisted it can become. Listen to what people say. Chrissy is preparing for the upcoming release. Chrissy's side is up in Section 4, that claimed danger to reveal Jim's innermost secrets right when you expected the drama to be over. Chrissy said that it had peaked, made the decision to fight back, not only in court. Based on those close to the circumstances in which Chrissy feels deceived, ambushed, and prepared to reveal all. Let's examine what she is supposedly accused of. According to first sources, Chrissy is planning to feel Jim is using the media as a weapon, utilizing the judicial system to damage her reputation. She seems as though she supported him throughout years of alleged infidelity in the company, failures and private problems up until now, but he is portrayed as the bad guy because of anything. She maintains that it's far more intricate compared to Jim's portrayal, and this is according to reports. Chrissy is the kicker, threatening to share her side of the story publicly of the narrative, which might involve releasing private emails, messages, and recordings that provide a very different image of their connection. One in which she says Jim is not at all like the helpless victim he is today, pretending to be an insider. Chrissy has proof of claims of drug use and infidelity, irresponsibility with money, and even bodily confrontations, which she claims demonstrate Jim's equal ability to lose if the circumstances become a public mudslinging conflict. Even detailed. Chrissy's purported this as a caution to Jim: in case I fall, okay? Don't toy with me, you go down with me. It's more than simply an emotional response. Strategic warfare. According to reports, Chrissy has been keeping records for years in case it became necessary for her to protect herself by using her whispers to, perhaps, agree to a tell-all book deal or attend a well-known interview. Asterisk. She may be prepared to use nuclear weapons, but allegedly, Chrissy has more than that. Further contacted several of Jim's former connections, those who have a history of conflict with him over matters of loyalty or money, and she may be constructing a defense against the lawsuit for emotional anguish or slander if it occurs. This can turn into a full-scale media spectacle with court fights, with canceled and leaked footage, contracts that are going in all directions. And remember that Chrissy is no stranger. She is skilled at playing the part in reality TV. Long-term strategy for molding public perception. Some admirers are even thinking Chrissy might be able to handle this whole controversy and transform it into a plot for a podcast or spin-off series, because ultimately, profit is found where there is debate. But is this a matter of retaliation, or is it about supporters of survival? Chrissy claims that she's endured the crucible for this man, assisting in the beginning of his career by overseeing their family life and foregoing her personal aspirations to preserve his reputation. It's now that, according to reports, she is Being placed under the bypass of a DNA test, she's not only silently leaving, she's coming for her name, her history, and her story. However, what occurs when personal suffering becomes a public spectacle in Section 5? We'll learn how fans interact with celebrities, and even former co-stars of Love and Hip Hop are responding to this shocking divorce and whom they are supporting now that the truth, or Jim's version of it, anyhow, has made public news. The reaction has been nothing less than explosive, from emotional to viral tweets. Instagram users who are celebs and veterans of reality TV are all contributing. Regarding the breakup that is causing hip pain, let's go deeply into the realm of hip-hop. The response is due to the fact that the streets are speaking without holding back Team Jim's social media frenzy #sign. It didn't take much to protect Chrissy against Yearn for Jim Jones exposure hashtags. Chrissy Fresh and Preserve Chrissy's First X fans are now divided and trending on Twitter. Divided into two separate groups. On one side, Jim, you have the number team. Advocates who claim Jim was at last courageous enough to leave a poisonous circumstance. They're cheering his tolerance for remaining so long and asserting that the DNA analysis was the last straw. A few tweets stated, Jim ought to have been abandoned. Chrissy didn't appreciate that man. This DNA test provided him the boost he needed. He devoted her for 20 years, told him falsehoods. I'm with Jim, but hold on, this is not a one-sided situation. Protect Chrissy Camp's number is arriving with a lot of fans. Women in particular claim that Jim is now acting like the victim since he's no longer the focus of attention. They claim that Chrissy restrained him for years, and this campaign of public defamation is one more instance of a man hurling a when it is convenient. A woman is under the bus, according to one widely shared tweet. So Chrissy handed Jim 20 years, endured his infidelity, and helped him when he had no money, and now he wishes to seem completely different. This man is gaslighting everyone on the internet, and in a simple manner. What was formerly a private split has become a gendered discussion regarding loyalty, deference, and responsibility. Reality stars and celebrities join the discussion. Even some well-known figures from hip-hop, love, and the broader the entertainment sector has started to bring up Yandi Smith, who is renowned for having her personal conflict with Jim and Chrissy share a mysterious story on Instagram. It was announced hours after the divorce news read, make sure that tables always turn. When they do, you're sitting correctly. Did Shade fans really believe that? Camilla, meanwhile, is another Love and Hip Hop alumna who left a comment on a gossip blog. Write about the circumstance that I witnessed. Behind the scenes, there's always more. Compared to what you all believe, then there is Remy Ma, who was featured on a podcast a while back. Following the news, she didn't take sides but made this really clear. Assertion at the conclusion of the day. If someone who has spent 20 years with you and you're only now discovering the reality that alters everything, perhaps the truth isn't. The timing could be the only problem. Not to be overlooked is the fan-made video. Spotify's conspiracies, discussions on TikTok and YouTube, analyses of their complete chronology of relationships. It's similar to everyone is analyzing and playing detective, reviewing Chrissy's physique in earlier interviews, language, and attempting to determine the moment when things went awry. Chrissy and Mr. Jones's legacy, these fans are being affected by the public unraveling. Really difficult because Jim and Chrissy weren't only a famous pair, they became a mainstay of the culture. Their show, Mr. Jones and Chrissy, was among the earliest Love and Hip Hop spin-offs. Hop franchises are offering their followers a sense of an intimate glimpse at an authentic, unvarnished relationship. Therefore, for certain viewers, a fan on TikTok thinks that the divorce is personal. Aptly said it. They made us have faith. In hood love, they created us. Think that a woman who can overcome all of her suffering might still have her happily ever after? All I see now is heartache and manipulation. And to be honest, that might be the most depressing aspect of this divorce, isn't just splitting up a relationship. It is devastating a conviction in the concept of the entire generation that love endures betrayal, celebrity, and duration.